All right, it is 7:02. Thank you for being here. Uh, we're really excited to talk about the capital project and get into much greater detail tonight. I'll be hosting and walking us through the slides and talking about stuff, but we have some people joining us tonight, and so we're excited about that. So I'm just going to go around the screen here and introduce folks. We have Bill Wisbauer, who is the architect for the district. He is from the firm Tetra Tech, and he's been working with Beacon for the past year and a little bit. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you.
And then we have Kristen Flynn, board member and chair of the facilities committee for the last few years. And she is here to just provide perspective from the board and also as a parent and community member. So we're excited, Kristen, that you can join us tonight too. Welcome, Kristen.
Thank you. Happy to do it.
And then Micah Damchak is on the screen kind of by label. He is our tech support. Mike helps all of our board meetings run smoothly, and he always knows I have last minute panics about doing any Zoom town hall, and see if he's always here to support. So Mike, tip of the hat to you. Thanks for being here. The one person who appears to be having some technology issues is Anne-Marie Corderoni. So I'm going to kind of do the eyeballs going in two different directions thing. And if I see her join, I'll try to promote her to the panel as well. But if she's not able to join and there are questions that she can answer or she can answer better than I can, that's why we're having a second town hall next week. Same day of the week, Tuesday. We're going to do it at 5:30. And but anyway, we're going to go through things tonight. So like I said, I'm going to lead us through and talk about what we are planning for this capital project and give you enough information that will help you with your vote on October 26th. And then, more technical issues, I'm going to have Bill jump in and help me out because he's the expert on all of that side of things. And then, Kristen will jump in, like I said, to provide the board perspective to all this as well. So without further ado, I want to start by letting you see us all, and then we're going to go over to the slides. So Mike, if you can throw the slides up. Thank you. All right. So tonight we are going to talk about our capital improvement plan that is going to impact really every school in a variety of ways. And so we're going to get into detail. But first, the next slide talks a little bit about the process. And so I want to talk about that first. So as many of you know, we finished a smaller capital project just a few years ago, and we saw the opportunity from the financial perspective to start planning for another capital project really over the last year. So we have spent a good part of the last year trying to prepare for this. The first thing we did that's not on this slide is we hired a new architect. So we did a huge process. We interviewed many firms, and the Tetra Tech firm, did a really great job through that whole process. We were really excited to have them join us. And Bill Wisbauer is the representative from Tetra Tech, who's really the brains and design genius behind all of this. And we've been working with Bill for the last year and a few months in putting all this together. So one of the big things that the architecture firm does along with engineers from their firm is they do something called the building condition survey. And so that is something that's a very comprehensive look at all of our buildings. It's something that the state requires actually every 5 years. And so Bill and many other people from Tetra Tech kind of scoured our schools, from roofs to basements, everything in between, looking for areas of improvement across the district. So many of the things that we have on this project to improve or fix came from the building condition survey. And as we get deeper into this, Bill can talk about some of that. But another part of the process is the board, has many different committees. One of the committees they have is a facilities committee. And as I said, Kristen has been chairing that for the last few years. And they meet monthly for the most part, sometimes depending on the time of year. It's not always every month, but typically this committee does meet monthly. And we discuss lots of different things in terms of the facilities in the district, but for sure the capital plan and capital project is one of the main things we've been talking about for the last few meetings. One thing we added to this process that we were really excited about this go around was we created committees of stakeholders at each of our school buildings, and they met on April, May. There's one little mistake on the slide. We weren't able to get a meeting in June, but we did. We have a meeting with these committees again in the month of September. So we've met with each committee 3 times. Each committee has teachers, staff members, administrators, and parents from each of our 6 schools. And we really started back in April of last year, really with open-ended things about what were they seeing as ways to really improve the experience, the learning experience for both teachers or students, obviously, but also teachers and staff. And we got lots of great ideas. And so we took notes from those meetings. We actually put it up on the capital project section of the website from those April meetings, and we really started to develop a plan from that. And then we took it into the May meeting, and then Bill and his folks have been working all summer and trying to put together a good plan. So you'll see this theme throughout tonight. So from the building condition survey, we identified a lot of what I call infrastructure improvements for the district, like roof repairs and new boilers in some of our buildings, and and lighting, and lots of different things that we identified. But we really, along with those important things, we really wanted to really transform some learning environments across the district, and really do it in a way that that all of our students can experience at the different levels. And so a lot of those ideas that you'll see later tonight came from those committees, and also Bill helping the brainstorming process as well. So anyway, we're really excited about that part. That was one part of the process. Our last capital project, as you may remember, we have our beautiful athletic field behind the high school, and now that we can do outdoor events again, we have many people coming to soccer games at night and football games at night. It's been really exciting this fall. We've had great weather and really great turnouts, both from the visiting team and our community. And so that was part of the project. We kind of renovated 2 classrooms at ROMBOUT, the Family and Careers Room and a science lab. And then we did infrastructure improvements across the district. So this is a much larger project. And we'll get into the scope of this as we go. So the board, in early September, the board adopted this plan and this timeline that we would have a vote on October 26th, and to really start taking this information out to the community. So this is a step in that. Tonight is our chance or a chance for us to go through some of the details. You can put questions in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to either answer them tonight. We record tonight, so it both goes onto YouTube for folks who couldn't make it tonight, but also I get a printout of all the questions, and we can try to answer those in a different format as well. We'll be sending out a mailer to all residents of the Beacon City School District with information about the plan. We have a special section on our website. You can quick link to it, the right side of the website, where I always go to find out what's for lunch at school as a parent. It also has a learn more about the capital project that you can click on. And there's lots of information, including the slides from tonight. And when we put this on YouTube, we'll put the YouTube link on that site as well. We have the public vote, and we'll talk about that at the very end. And then if the public approves this on October 26th, then we actually start designing and working on approval from the state education department, dealing with bids, and just getting this whole thing going. Our goal, and you'll see this throughout, is to get some of the work done this upcoming summer, which is great. Some like things like new roofing and some of that kind of repair work. And then the summer of 2023, our goal is to get the bulk of the rest of the work done. So anyway, that's the process. It had a lot of engagement. We were really excited about that. And I will sort of throw it to my panelists every once in a while, and you guys can wait till later to chime in. But Kristen or Bill, if you want to throw any thoughts in about the process, go right ahead.
Yeah, I think one of the things the last capital project, while we're really proud of everything that we accomplished, we always want to improve on the process that we used. And so one of the important things was to continue to engage at a building level, but to be very conscious about including stakeholders from each group, staff, community, parents. And so I think that really happened in a much more intentional way this time, and not necessarily always the parents that are involved in everything, which are great and we're so grateful for, but also really trying to bring in as many voices as we could. Additionally, we are really lucky to be working with a firm like Tetra Tech. They have just a really robust organization behind them. And so how they operate, the professionalism, the design expertise, the resources they can bring, we're really going to benefit from that as this project moves forward.
Yeah, it was a really fun process, and it was in some ways aided by technology, in that we were able to get a lot of these meetings in with Zoom and do it more efficiently. But Bill did a great job of getting the brainstorming going and building some excitement with each of those committees. So it got me really excited about this project, and so I can't wait to get into the detail. I always talk about sort of the parameters of the night, and I forgot to do that. We are really going to have, really try to end right at 8 o'clock. Just so these things don't go on super long, but we're going to try to go into detail. And like I said, you can put a question in the Q&A as we go. I will definitely get to them at the end. I'll try to look at them as we go throughout. If I see kind of repeat questions, I won't answer them over and over again, but we will do our best to answer questions. So let's hit the next slide and let's get into talking about the schools. So I am not going to just read every single point, but we wanted to have slides that really got into detail, so people could look at them, at their leisure and get information that way. But I do want to talk about some of the highlights here. So some of the highlights that really, one of it came from teachers, that there's really some major storage issues. It really has an impact on the class in terms of, coats and backpacks and everything, just not having a place to go. We started this work a few years ago, but we really want to expand it into many other classrooms. And that was something that the teachers on the committee really felt strongly about. The GLENHAM entrance is, just as many of you know, is just one door. And we want to do an entrance vestibule that has a lot better sense of security. And so that's a big part of this project, is to do that. Replacing boilers you see on here with energy efficient units. We're very excited to get that done, because that will help us use our resources more wisely and have obviously a really important piece of our infrastructure get replaced. You see unit ventilators on here that are pretty aged, and we're very excited about replacing them. I do want to say, because I've been talking about this all throughout, our process with COVID, that even though some of our unit ventilators, because you see this in another building, are older, they are equipped with the highest grade filters. They are working. We're just excited to get new ones in there as well. So I did want to just remind folks of that. We also have some work to do on an aging septic system. At GLENHAM, we have some ADA upgrades that we need to do. You're going to see some themes. Lighting is something that we need to replace in a lot of our buildings, but we have a lot of work to do at GLENHAM. The entryway is something that has been talked about for quite some time. And oh my goodness, I forgot to talk about an important part of this is to do repaving and expanding parking. We know that we have more drivers this year. This is an issue at a few of our buildings, and we know we need to do some redesign with that as well, because like the drop off pickup issues at Glenham we know have been challenging this year. And so we really want to do some redesign with that. So we have a lot going on at Glenham. You'll see on each of these slides at the very bottom what the estimated project cost is. And that's just for the school. You know, the overall project cost is 26 million, and we'll get into the financial side sort of towards the end of this. And then you'll see at the end of each slide that we're going to be doing the work really over the next 2 summers and fall. That's an aggressive timeline. I want to tip my hat to the board. They really pushed us to try to get the bulk of this work done really in the next couple of years. So Bill, I want to just throw you a question just in general, and Anne-Marie is now able to join us. She got through her tech issues. What goes into estimating the cost for each of these schools? Because I know you have a lot of factors that go into figuring out the cost of these things.
Sure. What we do is we keep a database of where we have as far as construction cost items on a regular basis, based on what we're bidding within the region and stuff like that. So we use that as a base. Then what we do is we do throw on inflation factors. And we also throw in there's a contingency cost, because there could be some unforeseen things come up. And then there's also what is called, they're thrown in there, there are incidental or project costs. And that involves dealing with bonding costs, legal costs, professional fees, surveys, that kind of stuff that are needed for the project. So what you're seeing up there is the total project cost that includes all what you would call the hard costs, the construction costs, and the soft costs to support that work.
Thanks, Bill. And a question just came in. I talked about it briefly, but it said just, what are we planning on doing with this project to fix the difficult issues in the parking lot at Glenham? So I do want to emphasize the design part of this happens after voter approval. So when we get, if and when we get voter approval on October 26th, when all the votes are tabulated, then Bill switches over into design mode, and he'll still be working with stakeholders at each building. And so part of the design is looking really closely from an engineering and architectural standpoint of how we can improve the parking lot drop-off pickup situation at Glenham. Like we're having some issues at other schools as well with this, but we know it's an issue at Glenham. So so the design part happens after this, where it really gets into detail. We're actually not allowed to really start the design process until we have voter approval. But part of that is spending time really looking at what the issues are right now and developing a design plan that will help. So I was a principal of 2 different schools in Virginia, some years ago now, but I had big projects at both of those schools, big capital projects, and redesigning pickup drop-off parking lots was part of that. And so we will definitely be really looking at that as part of this. It is a pretty big part of the Glenham project. And I know obviously we need to do some short-term things because the capital project is a little bit longer term, but that will be a part of it, is assessing the current state and then developing, some design around improving it. So thank you for that question. Let's hit the next slide. The way these slides are, then we just have some pictures. And so we have a picture. Bill, I'm not an expert. That looks like an old boiler. And so we're going to be replacing that. And then just a picture of, the parking situation, which is, the current issue. And again, be working on improving both of those. So next slide, please. All right, now we're going to talk about FORRESTAL a little bit. So, again, I'm not going to read every aspect of the slide here, but at FORRESTAL, there's some issues in some of the hallways, especially the kind of the lower hallway where 3rd and 4th grade and the art room are. it's dark. The hallway ceiling is really old, and so we're going to try to improve lighting in the corridors. We're going to add some natural light to that lower hallway, and also do some replacing of the ceilings in those hallways, and just really try to spruce them up and brighten them up. There's some, lighting. Forrestal is another school like GLENHAM that needs boilers replaced and has aged unit ventilators that need to be replaced as well. Again, I'll just repeat that we still, even with an older unit, they are working, and we have the highest level MERV 13 filters in those. And we also have the portable HEPA filters in all our classes as well. To a lesser extent, we're doing some, asphalt paving in the front. And we also, after talking with the design committee at Forrestal the other day, we're going to take a look at their sort of pick up drop off situation, see what we can do to improve that. The big the big part of the project for Forrestal is to really make a pretty big improvement to the playground. And so if you know Forrestal, there's what they call the upper playground and the lower playground, and the younger students are at the upper one, the older students are at the lower one. And we're going to look at ways to kind of link those. There's a hill that divides the two, but we want to look for some really creative ways to add some really cool play structures that connect the two. Forrestal, and you'll hear this theme at South Avenue to an even greater extent, but Forrestal's play structures are a little bit behind a couple of our other elementary schools, and we want to really improve it. And so we're really excited about that. And I do want to say again, the design process, and I said this to the Forrestal committee the other day, when we give voter approval, we just don't start designing the playground on our own. We're going to go back to the committee. When I was a principal years ago, I was involved in the playground redesign, which was absolutely one of the funnest things I got to do as a principal, and we had students involved in the design process too. So we really want to hear from students and get feedback that way, but we're really putting a major investment into the current ideas to interconnect those two playgrounds in a really creative way.
I think something we also heard a lot from community members and the building teams was, and this isn't getting ahead of the design process, it's really about what will inform it, and it's that taking the grounds and the surroundings of each of our buildings into account and thinking about what will enhance and sort of highlight the individual schools, in the best light, and really create their identity in terms of that design and what will make them sort of a unique and special community to be a part of. That was something that we heard over and over again. And that's when that'll be the fun part of designing it. Like Matt said, there's going to be input again, but that was sort of the ethos that informed a lot of the direction that we took.
Right. And we have a question, and so this kind of this you'll see some of these details later in the presentation, but the question is about one of the schools has 4.8 million in estimated improvements. That's GLENHAM. The other elementary schools have less, 2.7, 2.6 million, and 1.5 for South. How is that equitable? So I just want to speak to that briefly. It's so a lot of what drives the improvements here is the building condition survey, and there are things in the building condition survey that we absolutely have to fix. So GLENHAM, one of the big ticket things at GLENHAM is dealing with the septic field. We're doing some testing on it. We may be able to do it in a more resource efficient way, but that's something that we have to fix. There's some other issues at GLENHAM that we also have to fix as well. So we can't just do like a per pupil allotment for something like this, because you'll see also later that ROMBOUT has a pretty significant amount of improvement resources going towards it in terms of dollar amounts for this project, and they had quite a few in the last project as well. So what we really try to do is we really have the building condition survey drive like the must-dos in the building, and in some of those buildings it's going to be more, and in some buildings it's going to be less. But as Kristen said, each building we really wanted to impact. You said it better than I'm going to say it, but in a really visual way, in a way that touches on like the experience of being in the building for everybody there. And that was a commitment that we for sure wanted to in each of our schools. We want, and I sort of view that as a parent as well. Like I want my child to see the improvement, and so we're really trying to impact the student experience in each of our buildings. But thank you for
And
that.
we're lucky that that every school doesn't have a septic issue because that would
Yeah,
have erased a lot of the fun things we could have done. So
right.
it's not really it's not a ratio of like, they're getting more. That issue we looked at over and over and over again. And we're going to continue to look at it, but it was something that you have to fix a septic system for sure. But as far as the enhancements of the lived experience and what will really contribute to the unique experience of each community, we've tried to keep those as equitable as possible.
All right, next slide, please. So these are just some pictures of that's that lower hallway that's going to get an upgrade. You'll see where we're going to try to put windows in. That's the outside wall of that hallway to get some natural light in there. And that's the boiler that needs replacing. And and that's the unit ventilator. Next slide. All right, Sergeant. And I am looking at the time. I'm not going to race through this, but I'm just, again, I'm trying to do my best to end it at 8, and so we're right on track. Sergeant, we have a number of things. The really big thing we want to do at Sergeant is to relocate the library media center to the main floor. So our goal with that, and you see some cool pictures of what the possibilities of what could happen with that space. But we want it to really be like the hub of the school, right in the entryway, something that you see as you come in, something that all the students see as they come in a place that not only that library media teacher uses, but that all the teachers in the building use in different ways throughout the year. So we're excited about that a lot. I was teasing Bill the other day that I think architects really love to design school libraries and he agreed. So this is exciting for them, and so we, like I said, there's things at each of the buildings I'm really excited about. So that's one at Sargent. And then, there's other things on the list here. Lighting, repaving, the loop, replacing some of the corridor ceilings. Sargent has some hallway ceilings, kind of like Forrestal, that really need some replacement. We have boilers here as well. And then that library relocation that we're really excited about. So again, I mean, I'm going to be repeating myself a lot tonight, but when and if we get approval for this, the actual design part then starts, and so we'll really get into the details of what this will look like, and so anyway, I'm keeping an eye on the Q&A, and so sometimes people in the Q&A just give me stuff to look at or think about, and so I won't answer those, but I do get I get all this at the end in a printout, and I get to save it. So if you also have comments of things that you want us looking at, keep them coming. So I will keep a record of those. So thank you. All right, so again, we're really excited about that. Next slide. I think we have some pictures, some of the things we want to work on there. Right, so that's the current library that we're going to move up a floor, and that's some repaving that's needed there, and that is a boiler that needs replacing. So I think when we're talking about the cost issues, replacing these boilers at 3 of the elementary schools is a pretty costly thing. So anyway, all right, next slide, please. All right, South Avenue. So the thing we really wanted to address at South Avenue, I'll get into the other details in a second, but the thing we really wanted to address, I talked about some playground equity issues before. It's a even bigger issue at South Avenue. And so we really want to upgrade, redesign, pour a lot of resources and life into the back part of the school, which is their play area right now. And we really want to make it into just an absolutely creative and engaging and inspiring playground and outdoor learning area for the school. As many of you know, South Avenue has a little bit less space than some of our other three elementary schools, and so we really want to make use of the space as best we can, and really be creative back there. And also, I think we're thinking of a outdoor learning space in the front of the school too, right, Bill? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's
Right.
what we're
So
showing.
it's been really cool during. There's been a lot to obviously get frustrated with during the pandemic, but seeing students outdoors a lot more has been really gratifying, and we want to really support that. And so we really want to put a lot into these outdoor improvements at South Avenue. So there's a lot of details to work on through this process, and we really want to engage stakeholders in the community, including students, and what they want to see. But we really want a space that is just real highlight for the school, and really makes use of the limited space they have, and make it into just an outstanding and inspiring play and learning area that's outside. So we're really excited about that. We know the school community has done some things to improve the space, so we want to work with some of the things that have been added, but we also really want to do some pretty dramatic improvements to the play area there. Again, to try to achieve a sense of playground equity, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, amongst our elementary schools. So we're really excited about that, and it's been fun having those conversations. And I look forward to the design if this gets improved. And then you'll see some of the other things. We have boilers. And some lighting issues, repaving the front loop, and adding some energy efficient lighting in the hallways as well. And then the next slide has some more pictures. You can hit the next slide. So the next slide just has at least some thoughts for now. And again, I do really want to emphasize design starts after voter approval. So these are just, what we're sort of projecting right now, but we really want to get a lot of input with this. But we really want to expand the play area. For those of you familiar with that area back there, it's been virtually impossible to grow grass for a variety of reasons. So we want to put some sort of play turf back there that the kids can play on, and also just expand the hard surface play area as well. So we're really excited to do that and really just transform that back of the school.
I just want to, can I add to that too, about the both at Sargent, and I think you'll notice in the price tags associated with this, again, if we're just looking at numbers, it's not really the way that we came at this. What we were looking at is for maximum impact related to the unique setting that each of these buildings are in. So at Sargent, they have the beautiful sort of mountains behind the school, and when in moving that library media space up and opening it up, it'll really take advantage of putting that learning space in a place that kind of focuses on natural beauty and the unique setting. Here at South Avenue, it's such a beautiful building, and part of the, we're doing all the same things in terms of improving these, changing these boilers, improving lighting, all of the same sort of basic, very important things that will improve the lived experience within the building, but are subtle. We're not changing huge construction things to the footprint of the building, which would be quite expensive. But by dedicating the resources for this project towards making this feel like, just completing the outdoor setting, so it becomes a really beautiful neighborhood school with a complete campus that really reflects the setting that it's in. And that will be, all of the design will be determined by those community members that are participating and really reflecting the space. But it's something to be genuinely excited about, because I think it will make South such a special location and having such a unique setting. Instead of it being, not as many grounds or anything, we're going to take all of that what is there and really turn it into making the most of that unique space.
Yeah, no, that it's exciting to be focused on that. I looked at the questions. I had a comment about just checking out the back driveway at South Avenue, so we will take a look at that. And then I had a question about how we're paying for all of this, and so that is a slide a little bit later. And if you just hang on to that question, we will answer that in just a little bit. All right, next slide, please. So these are just some more pictures of like improving the lighting and some repaving that we want to do at South, and that I think is where that one picture there is where we attempt to grow grass behind the school, if I'm not mistaken. And so we want to definitely improve that. Next slide, please. All right, Roundabout. I talked about Roundabout being a building with some needs. And, you know, we addressed some in the last project, ventilation in the last project, 2 classroom renovations. And so we really wanted to continue with the classroom renovations at Roundabout. And so we're really excited about this. And when we jump ahead to the pictures in a second, we're not quite there yet. I love the pictures for this, but we want to basically renovate and redesign the 2 art rooms at Roundabout, and we want to renovate and redesign 2 science labs at Roundabout. And you see on this slide right here that both of those, you know, the 2 sort of upward facing rooms are the art rooms, the 2 sideways facing rooms are the science rooms. They both have access to the outside, and so we want to add an outdoor learning space for those spaces as well. We're really excited about this. The teachers have been part of just sort of this initial process. Like I said, we haven't gotten into the detailed design part, but we're really excited about renovating, you know, 4 more classrooms at Roundabout, and really making, you know, state-of-the-art science labs and state-of-the-art art studios, we're just really excited about that. So can't wait to talk more about that, and, you know, pending voter approval, get into the design. But again, we have a list here of other stuff. We have some roof replacements that are going to happen at Roundabout, that replacing corridor ceilings. You know, a few of the corridors at Roundabout are on the, you know, darker side, and so replacing some of these ceilings are going to brighten things up in some of the hallways. Excited about that. Repaving and redesigning bus drop-off and parent drop-off loops. We're in need of some work there for sure. So that's another, you know, school along with GLENHAM that we've identified as needing some pretty extensive redesign, maybe to a much lesser extent FORRESTAL, but some redesign there as well. Emergency lighting, we have some electrical work that needs to happen at Roundabout, and, you know, improved and upgraded ventilation as well. So Roundabout has a lot of work that we need to do, kind of like the last project as well. It's a pretty old building, and it needs it. So we are really excited about being able to propose these improvements to the community. You know, I get really excited about just sort of brightening up a hallway that I feel like has always been sort of on the darker side. And so the lighting and replacing the ceilings in some of the hallways, I think, are going to really spruce up some of those hallways. And I'm really excited about these 4 classrooms we're going to renovate. So let's take a look on the next slide. There's a couple of pictures that are pretty cool. So so anyway, you can see a little bit more about like the outdoor, you know, what the outdoor space would be right outside those 2 science labs. And again, we want to do some fun design with that, and really create spaces that really emphasize. We know the science teachers at Roundabout really emphasize collaborative learning, and we want to design spaces that really contribute and help that along. So next slide. And then these are the just some initial thoughts about the art rooms. So the art rooms, kind of the outdoor area that the art rooms go to is that courtyard that's at Roundabout. And so we have just some very initial ideas of being able to expand the art rooms out into the courtyard, provide some shade, You can see in one of the pictures that has a really nice studio feel. So in the indoor part and then the outdoor part, you go out, outside with some shade and whatnot to be further inspired for your artwork. So we're really excited about that as well. And again, we're really looking at things that impact many of our students or all of our students. And so really all the students at ROMBOUT will go through those new classrooms at some point. And so we're really excited about that. Next slide, please. And just some more pictures of things we want to improve. You can see the hallway that's going to get spruced up, the repaving that needs to happen. And I think we're looking we're looking at the art room. And so that art room is really going to be just completely renovated. And like I said, have a really modern studio feel to it. We're excited about that. Next slide. All right, Beacon High School. So Beacon High School, you see some of the kind of the things we're seeing in other buildings. We have, roofs that need work and replacement. So that's very important there, and some ADA upgrades, emergency lighting. But then, some of the things happening at the high school have a community connection. And so we need to replace the finish in the pool. And that's something that, our students use and also our community uses. And so we definitely wanted to, keep improving our pool. We want to provide some upgrades to the fitness center as well. And we haven't gotten into the design part of this, but we want to create a better fitness center for our students, for all of our students to use, students in PE class, students on athletic teams, but also create something in that space that the community may want to use more as well. So we're excited about that. So Beacon High School was built, Anne Marie, 2001?
Yes, 2001.
So the TV studio was part of the original design, and over the last 20 years, it's become really outdated. And so we want to just majorly upgrade the TV studio and renovate that space and just modernize it and upgrade it. As we know, it seems like every day things become more visual. Visual storytelling and visual media and multimedia, and just the amount of creativity in this world just seems to expand on a daily basis. And I think I've said the word excited about 100 times so far in this presentation, so I need to get my thesaurus out for the next one and find some other words. But upgrading the TV studio, modernizing it, getting the latest technology in there, I think will just really impact a lot of our students, and we'll be able to do some really creative projects there. And then one of the other needs that came from the committee is just with the wide span of science classes that we offer at Beacon High School. We've been adding classes over the years and expanding a lot of areas, but it's certainly expanding science. We're running out of lab space, and scheduling has become a problem, and also just having modern, up-to-date labs. And so we're working with the space that we have. We're not building an addition on the building, but our goal is to try to create 2 additional science labs at the high school. And so we're working with the administrators and the teachers to try to do that. And so again, you'll see a lot of common themes here that you're seeing. These infrastructure upgrades that are needed. The high school is a little unique in that it has that community connection with the pool, hopefully with the fitness center, and then just modernizing our learning spaces with the TV studio and those 2 science labs, or up to 2 science labs. Next slide.
One thing I would like to just highlight is that in addition to the fitness center having this community connection, it overlaps with some goals that have been set by our administrators. Specifically, John Giametta has made it a really important centerpiece that all students have individualized fitness goals so that they can continue beyond school to care about their health and fitness. And as a part of that, having access to good facilities so that they can identify and pursue those goals outside of even a sport or any kind of external driver, but rather kind of an internalized drive to take care of themselves and their bodies and develop healthy habits. That was another reason why we thought this overlapped with a kind of whole child approach that should continue on into the upper grades.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a space that it doesn't need like necessarily redesign, but it really needs to be refurbished. And so because it's aged in there as well. Next slide. So these are two other areas that we have projected improvements. One is our bus facility, replacing the bus wash system. It's really coming to the, as we say on the slide, the end of its useful life. And so we need to replace that at our transportation department. And then our track. So this was interesting in these community stakeholder groups that we had at each of the schools. The track came up with a couple of our, actually 2 or 3 of our school communities. And over the course, really, you know, I've been in Beacon 5 years now. I certainly seen it over the 5 years, but it seems like over the last year and a half, where people have really been trying to do a lot more outdoor exercise with COVID and just, you know, trying different ways to stay active. There's been a lot of people on the track, you know, from the community. And so it came up in a few of our stakeholder groups from different schools that make sure you look at the track and make sure you look at making improvements on the track. So we are indeed are proposing that. So we're looking at, you know, replacing the track surface and also where the field events take place. And also we're not putting a artificial turf on there, but also trying to rehabilitate the grass field as well. But it was some great feedback that we got. We were looking at it already, but again, this is something that, you know, the school uses. Obviously, we have a huge track program here at Beacon. It's a large, high participation sport. We also use it for PE classes, both middle and high school, but the community really uses the space a lot. And obviously, you know, our community supports all of this work. And so we wanted to make sure we were improving spaces that the community can use as well. So that was very important to us as well. And all right, next slide, please. Just some pictures. So Bill, can you just talk for a second about, you know, the words on our slides are a little bit beyond my vocabulary in terms of like, what exactly are we doing to the track or proposing to do?
Well, basically what we're going to do is take off this whole rubber surface. These rubber surfaces over a period of time as they age, they're basically, because they're made of oil and stuff, they dry out, they become delaminated, splits develop, as you can see on some of these. You can see where the odd color is. Repairs are attempted. It's a caulking that's put in there, but it's just, it's from use, it's from weather. The surfaces start to age, they split open. When they split open, then water gets in there, seeps underneath between the rubber surface and the other surface below it. Then you get a freeze thaw, it pops it, it has to be fixed. And there's been a series of repairs to partial sections, cracks. The photo to the right actually shows you why it's 2 different colors and textures. Is the one to the right, it was a full section repair. The one to the left is part of the original. And then even there, you see where the joint is. Over a period of time, it started to open up again also. So this is a common thing that happens with rubberized track surfaces over a period of time. As they age, they delaminate, and you have to rip it up and put a new one back on.
All right, very good. Thank you for that explanation. And next slide. All right, so we had that question, how are we paying for all of this? And so I'm going to defer to our Deputy Superintendent, Anne Marie Corderoni. She's going to walk us through this.
Okay, thank you. So the slide basically talks about the total amount of the project, which will appear on the vote, and that's $26 million. How we're going to pay for that. So it was really important that the Board of Education and specifically the Facilities Committee wanted to be a tax neutral project, which it will be. So we have some retiring debt that's coming off, and we knew it was a time where we could actually incur more debt and actually leave it flat. We are using $600,000 funds from fund balance. Where that money is basically coming from is we are in the process of selling some of the property at where Duchess Stadium sits. So we had asked the voters to vote to sell a portion of that. And we're in the process of closing on that property. So that money will go into fund balance. So we're going to use that for the capital project. And we were also, from some of the federal stimulus money that we received this year and some of the cost savings over 2019 and 20, we had some additional money, which we were able to fund $1 million additional in our current capital reserve that we have. So both of those amounts will go towards the to start paying the $26 million. So we're basically going out to bond for the difference. Also remember, Beacon is lucky enough to have 67.2% building aid ratio. So what that basically means is that we receive 67.2% back in building aid to pay for a capital project. So things that you normally would have to fix or do in the general fund, it's better to do it through a capital project. We get a better building aid ratio. We get more money from the state. So it's always advantageous for us to put it in a capital project to move forward. And we've been very happy that the voters and the taxpayers have supported our capital projects. It's been able to maintain our buildings in the right way. In this capital project, we're able to continue to do some educational spaces as well as doing some things in the building condition survey. And the most important part of this is that there will be no tax increase because of this capital project. So we're kind of fitting it in at a time when the debt is being retired. We're using some additional money to make sure that it's flat going forward for the taxpayers.
And one of the things, just moving forward, that the board has talked about this in a few public meetings, and it they'll talk about it some more and make a decision on this later in the year. But the board has discussed also creating a capital reserve fund over the next 10 years for us to be, putting additional monies in the capital reserve fund to deal with issues that come up after this project happens. Yes. So we want to be prepared. We want to be prepared for, emergencies or building issues, and to have a capital reserve fund that we can go to use to deal with building improvements we need once this project is done. A capital reserve fund has to be voter approved to establish it. And then also, if we take money out of it, it has to be voter approved too. And Anne Marie, when we make debt payments, isn't that also, we receive state aid on our debt payments as well, right?
Yeah, so the current year's debt payments, the principal and interest is received in the general fund, and that's all part of getting your state aid amount. So we basically offset the principal and interest payment per year by the building aid. The building aid is the revenue source that we get as part of our state aid to help pay for it. So again, Beacon's building aid ratio of 67% is very good. It's better than other districts in the area. So it's always a good thing for us to include things in a capital project. It's a better investment because we get more aid back in a capital project than we do with just leaving it in the general fund.
Right. And the reason I always bring that up is I always say that, the education system in New York from the state level is just all geared towards supporting districts to do projects to keep their buildings maintained and to make educational improvements to their facilities. Like, there's an enormous amount of financial support from the state level to do this work.
Yes.
And you've pointed out Beacon receives a pretty high level of support from the state to do this work as well. And that, that helps support our local tax burden. So thank you for that. And I think, I can't remember if this is our last slide. Could you go to the next one? Right. So I'm going to look at the Q&A really quickly. I'm looking at my clock, and we have just a few minutes left. Voting. So we're going to put this on YouTube. Voting is on Tuesday, October 26th. It's 6 in the morning till 9 at night. The locations are, oh, we got a little typo there, Glenham Elementary and Beacon High School. And just like a normal vote. And there's just one thing you're voting on. You're voting on whether you're allowing us as a district to go out and move forward with this project. So anyway, you can take the slides off and just show us again. I want to show my wonderful panelists here tonight. So I'm just going to look at the Q&A really quickly. I have a comment just about looking at the bathrooms at Sargent, just in terms of, excuse me, them being in need of repair, and also looking into needing gender neutral bathrooms for student use as well. So we will take a look at that. I have a question or comment about consideration to upgrading or replacing the employee badging system. If you want to reach out to me directly and just tell me what specifically your concerns are there, but we will always take a look at that. And then there's a Go Red Sox comment here. Sorry, I just had to say it. It's a little dangerous. We're in Yankee territory, whoever that is. But we are just a couple of minutes away from the game. I managed not to talk about baseball the whole night. I said I warned my colleagues, and then I never mentioned it until now. And it was a comment that got that. So like I said, all these comments or comments or questions I get, they don't disappear when we go off the webinar. I download them, and so we'll take note of all of them. Thank you for being here tonight. Thanks, Bill. Bill, I was able to do a lot of the talking.
Yes, you were. You did well.
A week ago, I said to Bill, you're going to do most of this, right? And he was like, no. This is your district, bud. So, Bill, thank you for this. And Kristen, it was awesome having you here to provide the board perspective and the community perspective. And I've managed, I think, over the last 10 minutes not to say the word excited, but I will end with that. I'm very excited to be moving forward with this. We're going to do another one of these Zoom town halls. We're kind of going to do the same routine. So I guess it's a little bit of a repeat, but we wanted to do it again just so we could get more Q&A going with people. So that's next week, October 12th at 5:30. We also have a special board meeting on Wednesday, October 20th, right? And that's an in-person meeting, and we wanted to do that because we wanted to provide an opportunity for public comment just about the project, but we will go through some of these slides again there. And we have a mailer coming out in the coming days that will go to every resident. But anyway, I'm at 8 o'clock exactly. I said I was going to finish here. It's 8:01 now. Thank you for being here tonight. And thank you, panelists. And we will see you all soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.